Yep.
So, Elise O'Byrne-White, good evening, and thanks for joining us for another one of our OLSC Q&As. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Lovely
Not
to
at
chat.
all. Yeah, it is indeed. It's always good, and I know it's kind of our continuing series of Q&As. So it is good to check in with the Leinster players and kind of get their views on all things, not so serious, so to speak, and kind of delve a little bit into the all your past life as well. So it'll all be coming up here at some stage.
Oh no.
Hopefully. We might just start there just with the weekend, a busy weekend for women's rugby across the Barbarians and of course the AIL as well. Great to see both of them in top flight. What were your thoughts then on either of those? Did you get to watch much over the weekend?
Yeah, I did. I was watching the Barbarians. How exciting. I know it was last minute change to the fixture, but really exciting that they got a world record for the attendance for a women's rugby match. So yeah, it was exciting, and a few Leinster players there playing in the Babas jersey. Oh yeah, look, the Babas is it's kind of the soul of rugby, and it's so special to see that the women are now part of that in the last few years. And aside from that, I was at the Blackrock UL game, which seemed to be the tightest game of the AIL this week. And UL just took it in the last play of the game. Emer Considine under the post. So yeah, that was a really, really good game to watch. Very entertaining, and some really great rugby on show.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean it's I actually just had it noted here as well. About the Barbarians, it really is just synonymous with the play across the Barbarians. It's literally, it's almost Harlem Globetrotters in a way. It's anything goes, and I think it really makes for the spectacle of rugby that the team is only brought together at that last minute, but yet it put on a phenomenal display of rugby. Like, I mean, it was literally breathtaking to watch end-to-end stuff, and I as you say, it's great as well that the Barbarians is now into the female game as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it was also really good to see South Africa playing. That's kind of in the last couple of weeks, probably that's the first time I've really seen them as a team. They played against France, and to see them play against the Barbarians, the exposure of players that I wouldn't know or I wouldn't see on the international stage as much is really exciting. Some really exciting. That number 11 was unbelievable for South Africa.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, as you say as well, it's great as well, kind of, because it's coming off the back then of the autumn internationals, and the we're obviously held in the RDS as well. Again, a new venue, but a chance, to get more crowds in there. And I think, from watching both of them as well, I was at the USA one. I wasn't at the second one. Or sorry if I have those confused. I was at the first one, but the crowds there, and I think actually now the RDS is a good stepping stone before it moves, hopefully up to the Aviva in years to come. But I think definitely it certainly gives it more of a. I would imagine the players really enjoy playing there.
Yeah. I'm so jealous. That's my dream. It's my dream to play in the RDS. I'd love to play in the RDS. Maybe that's on the cards for Leinster in the future. I don't know, but yeah, just to get that venue, like the capacity, I think the support is going to build over the next couple of years as well. So like you said, it's not full at the moment, the stadium, but I think they're going to push towards that in the next couple of years. And onto the Aviva, yeah, I think there's only been one women's match in the Aviva so far, and that was very exciting. But like you said, they're talking about televising the club games in England, and you can see for a women's game, 29,000 is a possibility.
Absolutely.
So yeah. That if you can consider those numbers in Ireland, the RDS would be full.
Full 1.5 times over, really, if you take the 29,000. I mean, it's and then I mean it would put it then alongside kind of the the attendance for, you know, maybe the Ireland-Japan game in the men's game. I mean, like, you know, that was kind of only in and around the, you know, the mid-30s number as well. So I mean, like, it's phenomenal that there is the potential there to have 29,000 spectators, you know, going in there.
Yeah,
you know,
of course. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? There's no reason why people won't support the game. You know, if the quality is there and if the performances are there, you know, people are happy to watch it. But I think that's, you know, that's up to players as well, to deliver on those performances and make that exciting rugby worth coming to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's interesting. You know, you actually said that, because I don't know if you've seen the league table just for the AIL after the weekend fixtures. Like, there's only 4 points between the top 4 teams.
Yeah, I know.
Which is, I mean, played 7, and yes, there you have 4 points separating the top 4 teams in the women's AIL, which is phenomenal. I mean, it basically puts it's still anyone's game, which is fantastic to see. You know, you don't have a clear runaway leader taking it, and I know it was probably a bit of a shock on Saturday night as well for Belvo down in Galwegians as well. But look, that's kind of it makes the excitement of the game as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does make the excitement of the game, and you know, you want the AIL to be you know, a challenge week in, week out. You know, you want the games to be tough. I think after Christmas it's going to be very exciting. The top 4 teams will be playing each other, you know, home and away, and that's going to be, you know, really good rugby, because I think we're all going to be pushing each other to try get that top spot, and that's where everybody wants to finish. There's no easy games in the top 4, and Belvedere is my club, obviously, and we have Blackrock this coming weekend, so that's going to be probably one of the toughest games we've had of the season so far. Yeah, disappointing to lose down in Galwegians. You know, it's always difficult to go down to Galway, and Galwegians are a tough team. You know, they're strong ball carriers, and you know, they just keep going. You know, they'll go for the full match.
Yeah.
And you know, we have a developing team. You know, we have younger girls coming through that are just getting some experience in the game, and you know, it's great to have that exposure. That's what you want for a younger developing player, like to be playing AIL matches. That's how you're going to get better. So yeah, no, it's good. I think the competition is great for the AIL.
You weren't talking to any of your teammates there from Saturday, were you? Was the weather as bad on Saturday as it was on Friday night down in Galway?
I think it was. I don't think it was great. I think it was very cold, but I don't think that was the reason for the loss. But...
Oh no, sorry, no. I'm just purely saying, because like at one stage on the Connacht game on the Friday night, the rain was just driving in across.
Oh yes.
I was kind of going, there's nowhere that anybody wants to be just standing there, you know.
Yeah.
No, it was more so just, you know, from a weather point of view as opposed to anything. Yeah.
I don't think so. I didn't chat to them, but I definitely know it was freezing cold.
Sounds about right for down there. Tell us then a bit about Old Belvo then. How did you get started then for yourself?
So Old Belvedere kind of came a little bit later in my rugby career. I started playing for De La Salle Palmerstown when I was 5 years old. I played with them for about 7 years, and I was captain of the boys team while I was there. And then I forgot about rugby completely, went and played hockey when I went to secondary school. That was primarily because there was no pathway for girls at that point. So then when I went to college in Trinity, and I saw Trinity Ladies Rugby as a on Freshers Week, so I joined, and I played I think 1 or 2 seasons with Trinity, and really enjoyed it. Girls loved it. That's where I really got back into it again. And it's my first season playing for Trinity. I got picked up for Leinster, and I hadn't an idea. I hadn't a clue what I was doing with my first year at Leinster, but they gave me a chance. So that was, I think, it must have been 2010. So it was 11 years ago now.
Yeah. And
from there, I obviously wanted to push on and play with the Division 1 team. So Belvo suited me because they have the reputation of being, you know, good rugby. Nora Stapleton was there at the time, so I wanted to play with a very good 10, and also really good social and easygoing, nice atmosphere, and that's kind of they're the main things I was looking for in a club.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I read somewhere, did I read somewhere, Elise, that it was Dan Van Ziel who kind of approached you at some stage, did he?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. He's the coach that gave me a shot. Um, he actually had me as 9 first, so I was playing in the scrum half position for my first season, and yeah, he just gave me a chance. I think he saw that I had a bit of potential, but and was coachable, and yeah, it was a bit of a bolter for him.
Yeah, because I mean, in fairness, like so my club, the club I was involved in for many years, is actually Coolmine, and
Yeah,
Dan Van Ziel then was obviously involved there, and I mean, again, he was great at picking up players and kind of going, oh, this player would suit such and such, and
yeah,
it's funny because obviously Vak Abdeladze on the men's team, he came originally from Coolmine, and
yeah,
I had him playing as I actually coached him, and I had him playing as a center, and Dan kind of came along and went no. So I was like, oh, all right, okay, well, I clearly I didn't know much then about positions, but it's good then in that it's good to
yeah,
have somebody like that, as you say, to pick you up and to give you a shot. And did
yeah.
you find it difficult then to transition away from 9 or into your current slot now, or were you happier to kind of go where you
Um,
felt you might
well,
mm,
yeah, like I was so lucky to have Dan as a coach. You know, he's such a quality coach, and you just that can be that quality can be few and far between sometimes. In the women's game. So it's just such a great start. Do I find it hard to transition? Not really. I think it's hard to transition. I primarily played 13, and I don't think that's an easy position to play anyway. It's a lot of open open field in front of you, and a lot of defensive decision making and a lot of attacking decision making all
yeah,
happening at the same time. So it's not a. It took me, once I went to Division 1. I played it. I think I played a bit at 9, and then I turned into centre, and I was more suited to 13. And probably took me at least 2 seasons before I got up to any speed,
yeah.
with being able to read what was going on in the game. And yeah, for Leinster, I played 13, and I played on the wing as well. So, and my first cap internationally was on the wing. So, um, I kind of I think 13 and wing kind of, they complement each other. If you play both positions, you kind of know what the other position's looking for.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's actually quite useful to play between the two.
To almost kind of realize if I suppose if you're on the wing or center, and if something doesn't go the way that you would have done it, it's like you're actually seeing it then from the different play, from the different position, and going,
Yeah,
maybe that was the reason why. And I suppose then it's good then for a player to kind of be thinking in the other person's boots, so to speak,
yeah,
realizing why something didn't go in the way that you initially might have done it.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And also when, people need a bit of help or whatever, trying to develop in a position, sometimes it's handy to know, actually, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what to do in this position. What do you do? And you're kind of able to say, actually, yeah, I understand. I still understand where you're coming from.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. I still play both. I still play wing, and I still play 13 mostly.
Great, yeah. Tell us a bit then, if you don't mind, how did you get in then? How did you deal with rugby and studies, and then obviously in college, because you have quite an interesting career, which perhaps some of the people watching this don't actually know. So what exactly are you?
Who am I?
Yes.
Yeah, so I went to college in Trinity. I did a science degree. I specialized in zoology when I was doing that, and animal behavior. And while I was in college, I got picked up into the Irish Sevens program, and I was still playing Leinster as well. Um, and I found it pretty easy to balance at that point, because there was two brilliant things that I could focus my time on. There wasn't much else I was trying to do at that point in my life. So
Yeah.
it was yeah, a real privilege to be able to be part of you know uh, a really good team, a really good squad, and then just get on with doing the work in college. I didn't find it that hard. And then when I left, I did both my ACLs in my rugby career, so that kind of took a year out each time. But I went and did veterinary then. Once I left college, I took about a year out. I think I did my ACL, and then I went back and I tried to get into veterinary. And when I went and did veterinary in UCD, I was on the Irish 15s team. So that was tough. That was really, really tough. I was a scholar at Astra, UCD at Astra Sports Scholarship, and that really helped an awful lot because I just had the gym there. They had, you know, physio, nutritionists and things like that, which just made life a little bit more streamlined. And yeah, the veterinary is really, like, the veterinary without doing anything else is extremely tough in college.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's why then trying to juggle it, you know, alongside a sporting career as well, some people would almost think, you know, it's almost impossible, really. That's
yeah, and like, I think that when I look back at it now, I think, yeah, that was really tough, and I don't know how I did it at the time, but sometimes I think when you have time to do stuff, you don't do it anyway. You know, you're like, oh, I have one thing to do today, and you barely get around to doing it.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so if you just if you let stuff fill your time, you can do nothing just as much as you can do everything.
Yeah.
And I think it was a case of that stuff had to get done at certain times, and that was it. There was no compromising about it. And like I said, like, it was a real privilege to be able to go and do veterinary and to be able to play rugby. Like, I was really, really lucky, really, really lucky. So I don't think of it as hardship. I just think of it as a great thing to work hard for.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, you know, fair play. I mean, it's something that I mean, it always fascinates me. You know, it's certainly a fascinating career to have, and I think, you know, it requires a lot of discipline, because I imagine, you know, you don't have too many patients who talk back to you. That's sort of the thing, you know. It's kind of like a one-way conversation. How are you today? And you just, I mean, if it's like if it's like our cat here, a one-way conversation is just a paw across the face. So, you know, but like, this isn't, if I'm correct now, this isn't your only kind of media appearance in recent months, so to speak, is it? You were picked up as well for other media appearances, were you?
Yeah. I think unwittingly, I graduated from veterinary and I got a job at the DSPCA, which is the shelter up in the Dublin Mountains, and I working away there, new graduate, just my head down, just trying to learn the ropes. And then one day Nationwide appeared, and the other vet refused to be on Nationwide. So I went out and I just said a few words, didn't think anything of it. And then a couple of weeks later, RTE came and were interested in doing a show. So again, I had nothing to do with the situation. I just turned up at work, and then there was a cameraman there, and the cameraman men filmed us for maybe 6-7 months during COVID, and that was what ended up being RTE show, The Shelter, Animal SOS. So I was on a couple of episodes of that, which was good fun, I guess. Looking back on it now, I had no idea what that was going to be like. So looking back on it, it actually turned out pretty good. And then at the moment, I'm on the Today Show every Thursday, giving some veterinary advice, and and they're doing the rerun for The Shelter at the moment. So I'm actually on the television twice a week, which is just ridiculous.
You can go and put a plug in here if you want. You know, go and tell us when it's on here. You know, we can put a little caption across here now saying when you're on telly. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Catch me on Fridays. So it's mad. It's nothing to do with me. Like, I don't have any big social media presence or anything like that. I don't know how it's come to pass, but it's not through design.
Yeah. It was just literally then, as you say, it was just because, you know, Nationwide turned up, and come here, is the other vet kind of now upset at all the TV exposure? Like, are they kind of going, damn it, I should have gone on the telly? Or are they kind of like, look, you know?
No, that was a no-go from the beginning for that vet, and it still is a no-go. But I think everyone else around the shelter is much happier to be on it now.
Yeah.
And it went down really well. It was, you know, light TV, and everybody loves animals, and you know, the work everybody does up there is just.
And the DSPCA as well is a phenomenal, you know, charity to get involved in. You know, I mean, it's really great. So yeah, I mean, it's good exposure, and I suppose it's good exposure, and it's something different as well. You know, because I mean, you don't have enough going on between rugby and whatever else, so you might as well
I know.
be in there as well. You know.
Yeah, I feel like if I had a Wikipedia page, people would be like, "Who is this girl? Like, what is she doing? Well, like, how does she spend her time?" But it's just really things have just happened, and I've had no real control over them.
And tell us then, because like, you know, how did these things happen? So the Irish Sailing and Mountaineering Adventure Challenge in 2019.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I came across that purely because another interest I've heard that you have is sailing. You can blame Maz for all this, by the way. She's the one who gave all the information. So
yeah, well, I was saying someone's done the research. If you're managing to find that, yeah, well, that's actually a good story. My dad passed away when I was in final year in veterinary, and he had a boat, and I basically inherited it. And I could always sail. I learned to sail when I was really young, but I didn't know how to sail a big boat. Like I can't fix an engine, or I'm really bad at fixing things that, you know, like just electricity and things like it's beyond me. So I said I really wanted to do something with the boat that was going to be kind of like a tribute, I guess, to my dad. So one of the races it's called the Ismac race, and you start in Kinsale, which is where the boat was, and two people have to run from one end of Kinsale to the other end of Kinsale, from Charles Fort round to the other fort. Then you set off from there to Adrigole. You run up and down Hungry Hill. You go from Adrigole to Kerry, cycle to Carrantoohill, up and down Carrantoohill, cycle back to the boat. Then from Kerry, you go to Dingle and cycle to Mount Brandon, up and down Mount Brandon and back down to the boat. So that was the race. That was the format of the race. For anybody who knows me, I don't actually like exercise very much. So Heather O'Brien and Paula Fitzpatrick, who are two Irish international players, and Fiona O'Brien as well, were my crew. None of them can sail. So it was a kind of it was a challenge to get us all on the water. And what was meant to take us 8 hours, which was from Kinsale to Adrigole, took us 28 hours with no sleep. So it was it was so much fun, but it was such a disaster because there was a massive storm coming in, and we ran aground I think about 3 times trying to get in out of the storm, and it was 2 a.m. in the morning, lashing rain, and we couldn't see anything, and we're trying to get in, and you know, the tide was rising, so every couple of hours we were getting, you know, a little bit further, and then we finally got in, whatever, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, all soaking wet, went to bed. And the next day I woke up and I looked out back from where we had sailed in, and there was a woman just walking her dog along the sand spit. So that gives you an idea that we were just basically about 2 meters of water. So it was good fun. Like, it was really good fun. And yeah, I do a bit of sailing, and I still have the boat down in Skull. So I'm gonna that's another side of things.
Is it big boat sailing or a little boat? Because I know nothing on it, but my brother-in-law sails flying 15s and lasers. So
great.
I know, like, you know, kind of like I think the flying 15 is a 2-person.
Yeah.
He sails it out of Dunleary, and you know, like I've done a bit of sailing on big boats, but like he's very much into the little boats, you know, which is, it's fantastic, you know, especially like on any sort of summer day, if you're out walking the out by Poolbeg or that, and you just see the bay full of them. So is that another thing, you know, which you still do as well?
I flying 15s are great. I only think I sailed them once or twice. That's true. I was a dinghy instructor. That was my beginnings in sailing. I was a dinghy instructor down in West Cork for 3 or 4 years when I was 17. And the big boat now is what I have.
Okay.
So she's a 33-foot contest, an old French boat, I think 1974. Really nice boat, but I find dinghy so much more fun. I love flying into the water and capsizing and little day trips here and there. But I generally do most of the sailing down in West Cork.
it's not a bad place in the world to do kind of sailing. I was down. Adrigole, I think, is where you mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
that's it.
I've never. Sorry.
No, that's it. That's where
Oh yeah.
I learned to sail in Adrigole. Yeah.
I've never made it. The closest I ever got there to was Glengarriff. That's the closest I got. I did a charity cycle back in 2015, around Ireland charity cycle.
Oh, wow.
And we came across the border from Kerry to Cork, down through Glengarriff, down through, I think it's the Connor Pass.
Yeah.
And that I actually burned out a set of brakes coming down, because I think at one stage coming down the bike, I was hitting 65k on coming down over that on the bike. So, but it's a fabulous part of the world. It really is, you know.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. You're not far then. Yeah, Glengariff's only about a 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
10-minute drive from Madrigal.
And is there equestrian in there also somewhere? Did you do a bit of equestrian?
Yeah, I did.
You don't get away with anything on these things. You really should have spoken to Lindsay beforehand and said, look, you know, do I get away with anything on these Q&As? The answer is no.
Wow. Yeah, I do. Yeah, not many people know that. I do. I was horse riding since I was 5 years old. And I had ponies all the way up. The first pony I ever got tried to kill me. He was a present from my godmother, little white little thing. And the first day I got him, I absolutely adored him. And I went out to feed him a carrot, and he managed to pin me into the ground and bite my neck. And like, they ended up having to come out and, you know, save me from getting attacked by this pony. And he was about 3 foot tall, like he was tiny. And yeah, they wanted to get rid of him and send him back, but I refused. Like, I was already obsessed with them. So yeah, I had another horse, Guinness, and he was a big cob. And I did a bit of eventing, a bit of show jumping, and one of the great ponies I had was a pony called Dunnet. And yeah, I was meant to go to the RDS for him. That's kind of when I was big into it. That's when the rugby was on hold. So that's those years. Yeah, I used to go out and and do a bit of show jumping, a bit of eventing, just one day eventing. And I still love it, but I don't have the time or the funds to keep a horse at the moment. But it's definitely a hobby I'll go back to when I'm older, hopefully.
And we might just touch on that briefly, just in terms of hobbies. And I know Lindsay is a big advocate of it as well, and especially you know, some of the players on the men's team as well have said about basically for the younger fans watching this to have as many hobbies and interests as possible, you know, and never get pinned down to one sport too early. Would you be kind of the similar mindset to that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you can see with a lot of the great female rugby players that are there that none of them just played rugby. You know, they all played GAA, or like Lindsay, basketball as well. A lot of GAA players, you know, go into rugby. And I think the more variety you have when you're younger, it stands to you when you're older. You know, you're able to I think either your physicality is built up, but also your hand-eye coordination and just your ability to see space in different dimensions, I think it is really, you know, really improved from having different sports. Yeah, now, I don't know how horse riding really helps rugby, but it's that was good fun. I think maybe a little bit fearless. That helps in that respect. I'm not afraid of anything.
I suppose as well, maybe just even things, you know, like patience and kind of having to think ahead, and maybe actually, you know, kind of feeding into the in playing 13, and you're saying having to think a couple of moves ahead. I suppose, especially if you're looking, you know, at like equestrian and 1 day events, like they always have to map out where the course is.
Yeah.
So I suppose even for that as well, it's kind of, you know, to give you a focus to say, okay, this is the game plan, this is what I need to do, you know, and you are kind of thinking a few moves ahead. So maybe, you know, maybe from a rugby point of view as well, especially, you know, if you're thinking, okay, if this move doesn't play off, what do I go to? What's plan B? What's plan C? You know, so maybe something like that.
Yeah. And I think to be honest, I probably really enjoy rugby because I learned when I was younger, you know, you have to turn up every second day or at the weekends, and you have to do the mucking out and, you know, filling the water and cleaning everything and all of this. Like, you have to do those sort of things. And it's kind of the same in rugby, you know, you have to get the training sessions in, even on the wet days, even on the days that you don't feel like it. And that's the difference between people who kind of succeed on a rugby team and who maybe just fall off and don't really take it as seriously. So yeah, maybe it all stands to you.
It's all relative, as they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just wrap it up then. We'll just ask you then for your thoughts then on the Interpros. Sorry, not the Interpros potentially. Are we looking at any in the new year for yourselves? Can you give us any inside knowledge on that?
Well, fingers crossed.
Great,
fingers crossed.
Great, yeah.
I think we're in for an exciting couple of years for women's interprovincial rugby, and I think Leinster women's rugby as well are really going to push the boat out on just, you know, seeing how far we can take the women's interpros and seeing how far Leinster women can push the standards, because for the last few years, you know, Leinster really have been backing us to try perform, and like that event when we played in Twickenham was, you know, one of the highlights of my career so far, and I would love to see that become more common, and I'd love to see more players get to experience that. And you know, like I said, I've been here for 11 years and I'm still going strong, but where I leave the jersey, I'd like it just to be the starting place for younger players, and you know,
absolutely,
that they can push on from that. So yeah, I think there's going to be an exciting few years ahead. It might all not happen, you know, immediately, but I think we'll be building.
And I think, as you say, it really is there. And I know that for the game in Twickenham, which was 2019, it was I think it was just unfortunate because it kind of came 2 days after Christmas. So, you know, if people had been thinking about traveling over, it kind of fell at that. And look, I know it was part of the big day out in Twickenham that they were having. But I mean, I think between that game, the autumn internationals, the Barbarians game, the appetite is there for it. So I mean, I really think, you know, it's down to, you know, local, you know, anyone who's watching this, you know, if they're involved in their local club, keep pushing the local club, because the clubs then push the branches then push it up the level, and it, you know, basically just keep banging on the door, and it, you know, it will get to a point where we want it to be, and all of us want it to be there. That's the key message here, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think all the girls want, you know, they feel you know, very strongly about being part of Leinster women's team. You know, it's there's a lot of pride in that jersey. And I feel as a squad and with the players that we have, there is so much potential for us to improve and get better. And you know, kind of match the men in terms of skill set and that style of rugby. You know, we're not far off it. And I think you could see it when we had that 5-match interpros. The difference in the first match and the 5th match was massive. You know, we were really just getting going, but sure, like you said earlier, like the potential is there, and yeah, who knows if that space is going to be filled, but you know, 29,000 again, like you said, in Twickenham, I don't see why you can't push that, you know, for provincial games here either. I think it's all in the making.
And you know what? I think that's actually a really good note to actually leave this on, because I think it's a powerful message to finish it on. So, Elise, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Wish you all the best. And look, hopefully for the Interpros, we'll see you talking out again for the Interpros.
Yeah, fingers crossed. If I can keep myself fit and strong, I would love to be there again. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me, and thanks so much for your time and for all the support.
Not at all. Not at all. Look, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much. All right. Take care.
Bye.
See you. Bye.